Okay?
That's what they say.
That's okay with me. Pero yun na lang po siguro. Sige. Doon po sa pagdating sa mediation, reconciliation, kailangan po walang abogadong present. Kung magkaroon po ng abogado yung employer, dapat magkaroon din ng abogado yung manggagawa through public attorney's office para patas.
Yes.
Kasi in some cases po, yung may abogado lamang, yung employer, pero po yung manggagawa, wala. He's all by himself
That's
or by
unfair
herself.
and unjust. That should
Tama.
not be done. Yes, both parties, especially yung mahirap na hindi maintindihan yung kaso, ay dapat may abogado.
Thank you
Napaw.
po.
Sang-ayon po ako dyan.
Thank you po. Pangatlo, ang request ko po, Secretary Laguesma, pag nag-inspection po yung mga taga-DOLE, kung pwede po sana wala silang bulsa.
Paano yon?
Kasi po, pag pupunta sila, yung kanilang bulsa, wala pong laman. Paglabas po, punong-puno na po.
Ng barya.
Hindi po. Punong-puno na. Ewan ko kung ano. Paki-guess na lang po kung ano yung laman noon. Anyway, ito po ang sasabihin ko sa inyo. Base po ito sa reklamo ng mga manggagawang lumapit sa amin. So they will file a complaint or they will call DOLE about their hinaing about their employer. And then DOLE will send a representative doon po sa company. So natimbrihan na po yung company. So pagdating po ng inspektor ng DOLE, dinadala po yung pong inspektor sa loob ng kwarto ng HR o ng manager. At wala po doon sa harap. Sa harap po yung complainant. So it's just between the employer and the DOLE inspector. Sana po pag nag-inspect po yung DOLE, nandun po dapat yung mga complainant. Ang nangyari po, pagdating sa inspeksyon, doon po sa opisina, sa HR, ay yung company representative at yung pong taga-DOLE. At ito nga po sinasabi ko, paglabas po ng DOLE inspector, nakangisi na po, punong-puno na po yung bulsa. Kung ano po laman ng bulsa, kayo na po manghula at mag-guess. Kung minsan pa po, meron pa pong dala makakapal na envelope. Hindi ko po alam kung anong laman ng envelope. Yun po ang sinasabi ng mga complainant ko.
You're correct. We urge you to continue exposing it because the rules in inspection says that will require that. If there are any violations, it is helpful that you expose it in media.
Thank you po. Now, pangatlo.
Panglima na po yan.
Panglima. Akala ko makakatipid ako. Panglima po. Secretary Laguesma to. I already talked to you, I think the other day about this, Secretary Laguesma. When the DOLE inspector oftentimes goes to a establishment that is being complained, there were several instances na pinapalayas po kayo ng employer. Parang wala ho kayong ngipin. Ano ba? Kailangan natin ng legislation nang sa gayon mapipilitan itong employer to open the doors para makapag-inspect kayo based doon sa reklamo ng employee. Wala ho ba kayong tinatawag na visitation rights?
Meron po eh. Meron po silang visitation rights.
Meron po kami visitorial power.
They have visitorial power.
Visitorial power. Okay, thank you for correcting me on that.
Yes, yes.
Assume that na meron silang violation.
Yes, it would be a violation if they don't allow it because
So,
they have
paano po dun sa mga insidente na pinapalayas po, yung nakita ko po with my two own eyes na pinapatsupi ng employer through the security guard, yung mga taga-DOLE, kasama na po yung reporter namin.
Well, pwede po niyong idulog sa DOLE. Ngayon po na kayo ay hindi lang broadcaster na nag-document, ay meron po kayong access at plataforma bilang senador, ay makakatulong po yan at iparating po natin sa probinsya, sa syudad, sa rehiyon. Kaya nga po represented ang ating departamento all over the country.
Okay. And number 7, I don't know if this is the last.
6.
Number 6. Oh, in advance ko talaga. accounted for ni Secretary Loren. That's the reason why I really like you, Secretary Loren. Senator Loren. You're my favorite senator, MFS. Oh, di ba?
Anong MFS?
Anyway, this is my next question.
Rinig ka ng iba.
Senator Loren. Favorite. Totoo yan. MFS, my favorite senator.
Thank
Ayan,
you.
sabi nun. O, di ba?
Salamat. Sige. Kasi marami po siyang
Nandito ho ba yung taga-NLRC?
NLRC.
Is he here? Hello? Oh, nandito ba si Chairman? Wala si Chairman. I've heard Chairman's been in his position as NLRC Chairman for 22
The
years.
chairman is on bereavement leave.
Oh, I'm
Namatay
sorry.
po yung kapatid.
I'm sorry, ako po
Today po ang living.
Ako po'y taus-puso nakikiramay sa pumanaw ng kamag-anak po ni Chairman Nograles ng NLRC. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I got really pissed off to the point na ako po'y inatake ng high blood. Why? I had several complainants who came to my program and they were complaining na after waiting for 10 years na nanalo na po sila sa NLRC, nang kamatay na po yung kanilang mga kasamahan, hindi pa rin po nila nakukuha ang kanilang pera. And it has been happening the past 2 weeks, the past 2 years, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, the past 20 years. Again and again and again. At 23 years na po sa kanyang pwesto, si NLRC Chairman Nograles. Bakit po? Bakit po hindi nagagawa ng paraan yan? Bakit po matapos mo may panalo yung kaso sa NLRC, hanggang sa mangkamatay na po sila, hindi na titikman yung kanilang pinanalunang pera?
Are you referring to the case? They're referring to a case where the property or the company has closed and wala na po silang makuhang properties kasi nagsara
Yes.
po yung company.
Well, ganun po palagi nangyayari. Dapat po, gumawa tayo ng paraan. Kayo sa NLRC, 23 years na po nakapwesto, nakaupo dyan sa pwesto ang inyong chairman. Dapat nakapag-isip na po siya ng way na para pagdating ng time, nanalo po yung employee, meron pa rin po siya nasisingil. Kasi what happens is, 9 out of 10, yung pong mga company, pag na-file po sila ng case sa NLRC, dinidispatch po yung kanilang mga properties, yung kanilang mga lupain, yung kanilang bank accounts, and then nag-change ng name, tinichange yung pangalan ng kanilang company, nag-change ng ownership, wala na pong mahabol. Palagi pong nangyari yan for the past, as far as I'm concerned, for the past 25 years, me as being a broadcaster. Bakit po walang magawang paraan ang taong nakaupo dyan for the past 23 years? Hindi niya po nagawa ng paraan? He could have come to us sa senators o congressman para humingi ng tulong para makapag-pass ng legislation para ma-address ng problem na ito. Bakit siya kahit tahimik lang?
He's not here to assist me in answering that.
Okay.
But there's a bond that is deposited. Pwedeng i-forfeit yung bond. But it may be small.
Well, kung meron pong ban, nasaan po yung ban? Kasi marami po na ako natatanggap na complainant na sila po ay nanalo na 7 million, 8 million, 20 million at sila po yung mga 50,
Bond naman po
100.
ay nabibigay.
Wala po. Nope.
According to them, nabibigay po yung bond. Pero
Wala po.
kulang po.
Wala po.
Mabagal nga execution at kulang yung bond. Kaya mag-isip tayo ng legislation to
Okay.
address the problem.
Okay, we have to address that problem.
Yes.
Kasi nga po, nakakaawa po at masakit po sa aking kalooban na yung mga manggagawa na sila po ay naapi na dahil hindi po sila binigyan ng maayos na sweldo, tapos sila po ay sinipa sa kanilang trabaho for no reason, illegal dismissal, and then they went to NLRC na hoping that they can get justice. Pagdating po sa NLRC, they were forsaken. Napabayaan po sila, pabalik-balik po sila from namamasahe po sila, yung iba sa kanila pupunta ng probinsya, babalik lang tuwing hearing. Kuminsan po, abono pa sila, gumagastos sila by the thousands pagdating sa pamasahe, accommodation when they come to Manila. And yet, at the end of the day, wala po sila masisingil. At ang pinakamasakit, namamatay na po sila, wala pa rin po silang titikman na perang pinanalunan nila.
Yeah, I feel for them, and I know that it's a long pending problem. As I say, it's decades long. That is why jointly, the DOLE and the Senate could think of possible solutions to this. Sila na po nagsabi, under the term of newly installed Secretary Laguesma, they will come up with solutions for possible legislation.
Nag-uusap na po kami ng aking legislative team. Dapat po yung ban na ipopost or yung escrow na ipuput up, it should be equal to the amount of the claim. Hindi po yung maglalagay ka ng ban na barya-barya lamang, parang nang insulto pa, parang na binobobo ang taong bayan.
That's the rule. I believe that
Well, then we have to change the rule.
yun po dapat ang ginagawa.
Opo, kung ganun, wala man lang sa inyo nakasilip sa DOLE, sa NLRC, tagal-tagal nyo na dyan, tinubuan na kayo ng mga buhok kung saan-saan. Hindi nyo pa naisip yan na dapat yung ban equal doon sa claim. Hindi kayo magpo-post ng ban na mas maliit sa claim, for God's sake. Parang lokohan to, parang binobobo nyo po ang taong bayan. Parang binobobo nyo po ang mga manggagawang Pilipino. At hindi po ako papayag, not under my watch.
Equal naman po ang claim. Kaya lang pag mahaba po ang panahon at nagpupunta na po sa korte, sa Court of Appeals, ay tumataas po yung award. So, maski magsimula sa equal sa claim, nag-iiba po yung presyo ng award, kaya po hindi na tugma.
No po. No po. Marami po ako mga nakausap na mga gagawa, wala po silang tatanggap ni Singkong Duling. Yung nga po sabi kanina, kamatay na po sila ni Singkong Duling, wala po silang titikman doon sa pinanalo nilang case sa NLRC.
I would suggest that your long list of complaints of those who've already won, ibigay po nyo para ma-execute kaagad.
Okay. And then siguro po, turuan natin yung mga sheriff. Siguro mag-aral sila, mag-seminar sila kung paano po mag-identify ng mga properties, paano po maghabol, mag-garnish ng mga properties. Because some of these sheriffs, sorry ha, hindi naman siguro lahat, ay tamad. Ang ginagawa po nila, sasabihin po nila doon sa claimant, sige, maghanap ka ng account nung dati mo employer, pumunta ka sa LTO, tumingin ka ng mga plate number doon ng iyong amo, bantayan mo yung kumpanya ng iyong amo, paglabas ng sakyan, kunin mo yung plate number, o tingnan mo kung may back account yung iyong amo. Bakit kinakailangan po yung claimant o yung employee ang magawa niyo, yung ex-employee ang magawa niya? Di ho ba dapat trabahohin ng sheriff?
Yeah. According to the NLRC, they ask assistance from the sheriff, but they don't order, right?
Well, palagi hong nangyari, yung sheriff po ang nag-uutos doon sa mga nanalo na mga manggagawa ng kaso sa NLRC. Inuutusan po sila ng sheriff na hanapin yung properties o bank accounts. Pupuntahin pa po sila sa Land Registration Authority kung meron mga lupain ang kumpanya. Anong alam po ng employee? Anong alam po ng manggagawa? Kulang po siya sa kaalaman. Especially kung kulang po siya sa pinag-aralan. How would we know? How would he start? Where is he gonna start? Wala po siyang kaalaman. So ang nangyari, he comes to me to complain because the last resort is coming to me. Hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin. Babalik sila kay sheriff, sige, kahit saan kayo pumunta, wala mangyari dyan kasi ginawa ko ng lahat. And then I asked the sheriff, what did you do? Wala. Nga. What the sheriff did, he picked his nose and he picked his teeth. That's what he does. That's why wala pong nahanap. I'm sorry, hindi naman po lahat. Wala pong nahanap na pera o properties para pambayad po sa pinanalong kaso ng pobreng manggagawa. I'm sorry if I'm being emotional kasi nag-build up na po to sa akin na nakikita ko po kung paano po talaga naapi yung ating mga manggagawang Pilipino. And I promise myself, pagdating ko po sa Senado, I'll do something.
We appreciate that.
And now I'm here, I'll make sure na lahat ng hinanakit ko na pang-api sa mga manggagawa, hindi na po mangyari. I'll make sure under my watch, it's no longer gonna happen anymore.
We
And
appreciate
kayo po
that.
dyan sa NLRC, humanda na kayo because hindi ko kayo titigilan hanggat hindi po ayusin ang inyong mga trabaho.
Ibigay po nyo yung listahan ng lahat ng mga hindi natulungan, maski po sila nanalo na, para malaman po ng DOLE, Secretary, at ng NLRC ang mga tinutukoy po ninyo. At po po'y nakikiisa
Thank
sa
you
inyong advokasya sa pagprotekta ng karapatan ng ating manggagawang Pilipino.
Salamat po. Yung po bang NLRC position, yan po ba ay fixed term o fixed term, 23 years?
Until 65 years old.
Until 65. Wow, kaya pala.
How old is the head?
Parang
The
40.
head is turning 65.
Oh, okay. So kahit na pagpawara-wara siya, magwawal-wal-wal siya dyan, come what may, siya po ay hayahay lang na makapagsilbi hanggang sa siya mag-retire.
Okay.
Siguro that's something na through legislation, I'm gonna try to pass na para ma-minimize po yung term ng NLRC chairman sapagkat nakita ko for the past, yung 23 years na nakaupo dyan, mukhang kulang po yung ginagawa niyang trabaho para maayos yung problema na matagal, dekada-dekada na po na naranasan po ng ating mga maliliit na manggagawa. Siguro it's about time. Anyway, mag-retire na po ata next year. Praise the Lord. Okay. So, next year mag-retire na. Okay. Senator Loren, wag ka magalit. Nakangiti na si Senator Loren. Oo, nakangiti. Yan. So,
Bakit po? I can never get angry.
no, I'm not angry and mad at you. I'm mad at the system. I'm mad at the policy because time and time again, it keeps repeating. Okay. I've done...
That is righteous anger.
Thank
Can I
you.
share that with you?
Thank you. For so many years, people comes to me, the labor sector, with the same problem again and again. And I'm able to give solutions to those problems. Pero band-aid solutions na bibigay ko. Pero ang gusto ko po sana, permanent solution, long-term solution. And this is it. Gisingin ko po yung mga tutulog-tulugan sa ating gobyerno, lalo dyan po sa NLRC at DOLE, nang sa gayon naman po, magkakaroon po ng hustisya ang ating mga malilit na manggagawa. He was less in life, should have more in law. Yan pong sinabi ni Ramon Magsaysay.
We reiterate the statement of DOLE that they are willing and happy to receive all the complainants, all the complaints from you, so that the people watching your show can be helped ASAP.
Okay? And
You can inform me of any move after the passage of the budget, what action they've done.
okay, very good. Thank you. And also my request doon po sa mga taga-NLRC, pag tumawag po, hindi lang po kami, pag may tumawag po, be that imang magagawa themselves o people that represents the manggagawa, sagutin niyo naman po dyan sa NLRC. Kadalasan po, umiiwas kayo, especially po yung mga top management, nagtatago po sila. Hindi ko alam kung bakit sila nagtatago. Pangalawa, tigilan na po natin mga fixer dyan. Pwede ba, Secretary Laguesma, palayasin na po yung mga fixer dyan, yung mga ambulance chaser kung tawagin sa NLRC. Talamak po yan. Inamin po yan sa akin ni Chairman Nograles when he was here during our budget deliberation. So, stop na po yan. Kasi one day, pupunta po ako dyan, I'm not kidding, kapag naabutan ko po may mga fixer, kakalad ka rin ko po palabas ng NLRC mga yan at papahiyain ko po sila. Okay ba, Secretary Laguesma, can you tell NLRC Chairman? Okay.
Makakarating po.
Okay. Ngayon, ito na po. Sana yung yung closing remarks ko. Ito. Ito po. Maraming salamat po sa pagsagot sa aking mga katanungan. Naway magampanan po natin lahat ang ating mga katungkulan para sa ikaunlad ng bawat manggagawang Pilipino. Thank you to our Senate Pro Tempore Senator Loren Legarda. Thank you, Mr. President. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Oba. Maraming
Thank you.
salamat. Marami po ako natutunan sa sektor ng labor. At I'm happy that our neophyte senator who has been helping the poor, the downtrodden, lahat po ng inaapi. At inuulit ko po, to summarize, you will give us a list of all those who have gone to your station, to your show, so that the DOLE secretary himself can look into the complaints in the NLRC. Second, the special provision on Tupad only, that it will be by administration of DOLE. And third, the possible legislation that you will introduce regarding the confidentiality of the mediation proceedings. So see, I'm summarizing what we discussed in 30 minutes.
Okay. Ma'am, okay na po, Madam. Sa aking pong karanasan, Madam Senator, ang nadidistribute po ng tupad ay mga politiko. In fact, I'll cite you an example sa District 2 sa Quezon City. Politiko po ang nag-distribute ng tupad. In fact, kumikpak pa po. 10,000 halimbawa ibibigay sa bawat manggagawa, kinukupit po yung 6,000
Bawal yun.
at yung
Nakulong mo.
alam ko po bawal. Kaya nga po, ang 4,000 ang ibinibigay lamang po doon sa mga recipient. Ang akin pong pinupunto, Mr. President, Madam Chair, sana po kung pwede from now on yung tupad diretso na po sa DOLE because ang DOLE po may kakayahan para maghanap kung sino po talaga mga qualified beneficiary. Sandali po ma'am, ang nangyari po kasi idina-download po sa mga politiko and then the mga ma'am, and then the politicians are the one who identifies kung sino po yung mga beneficiary nila. Sometimes po, ito po yung mga campaign manager, kaibigan, kamag-anak, inaanak, kasambahay, karpintero, driver, lahat-lahat, bodyguards, yun po ang tumatanggap ng tupad. Okay? And then pagdating po sa bigay ng tupad, si Pulitiko po nandoon po sa harap, nag-aabot ng pera, samantalang po yung mga taga-DOLE nandoon po sa likod, nagtatago. So bidang-bida po yung Pulitiko at ang hindi alam ng mga benepisyaryo na yan po ay pera ng gobyerno at hindi po pera ng politiko at yan po para sa akin po, dapat talaga ang magbibigay niyan diretso mula sa DOLE and then DOLE aabutin po doon sa mga beneficiary at ang dapat po mag-identify ng mga beneficiary, kung ako po masusunod, dapat po ang DOLE because they are the ones who has the qualifications and the know-how kung sino-sino po talaga ang nangangailangan ng trabaho. It is not the politicians. The politicians are supposed to do legislation. The politicians are supposed to manage the affairs of the local government.
Di na kayo kailangan magpahaba dahil sumasang-ayon ako sa inyo at dahil po sa inyo, idadraft nyo ako ng special provision para bawal na gawin yan at hindi na magmomowa sa LGU ang tupad. Pero ang DOLE kabuhayan hindi kaya ng iba ng LGU. Kailangan, hindi kaya by administration ang DOLE kabuhayan by experience. Kailangan may partner LGU at may partner cooperative or organization. I know, pero I speak because I was a local representative for 3 years. However, pagtupad, sabi ni Secretary, kaya ba nyo? May mga tao kayo, may absorptive capacity po kayo.
Meron, no? Sabi ni meron Secretary, ano?
Na hindi
approve.
po, ayan, tapos na.
DOLE na.
Ayun,
Huwag na po idaan sa mga politiko.
Okay.
Kasi po ang lumilitaw, nagagamit po sa eleksyon yung tupad. Yun lang po pinupunto ko rito. Sabi ko po, okay, gusto ko po yung tupad, taasan pa natin yan, gawin pa natin 50 billion, 100 billion, 1 trillion. Kung ang pag-uusapan po natin, just an example, kung ang pag-uusapan po natin ay para mabigyan ng trabaho yung mga pobre nating kababayan, why not? I'm for that. What I'm against is yung bang sa distribution na kuminsan hindi po patas ang pagbibigay ng tupad sa mga tao sapagkat ang nakikinabang po yung mga kamag-anak, kaibigan, inaanak, kasambahay, driver, what have you na mga politiko at nagagamit po sa eleksyon at the same time para ma-identify nila kung sino yung mga botante nila. Yung mga botante binibigyan at hindi bumoto sa kanila, hindi binibigyan. So it's not fair. Yun na po yung sa akin. So, ang gusto ko po sana
You're correct. You're very correct. We should not use it for political purposes and give only those who supported us. In fact, I'll tell you this. I speak from experience. I hope I don't hurt anyone.
Hindi kayong inaano ko yung
Alam ko,
DOLE.
hindi ako. Ini-example ko lang po
Okay.
na minsan, pag nagbibigay po, kamukha sa probinsya ko, nagtataka yung iba, bakit ba nasa listahan yung mga hindi naman bumoto sa atin o yung mga kalaban,
Correct.
followers ng kalaban? Sabi ko, taxpayers money to, gobyerno, at kailangan tulungan ng mga hihirap. Mahirap ko, mahirap mo, mahirap ng kalaban, mahirap yan, kailangan tulungan.
Opo.
Kaya maganda nga ang DOLE, ang siyang magpapatupad ng tupad
Yes.
para walang kulay ng politika. Kaya dahil po sa inyong mungkahi, ay magkakaroon po tayo ng special provision na
Ang tupad,
diretso by administration po ang DOLE tupad.
Okay.
Ibang programa, kabuhayan, kailangan
Okay.
po may partnership po
Yung sa akin
mga
po,
accredited organizations.
tupad lang po yung sa akin, ang pinupoint out ko. Kasi po, ang
We take
lumobo yung...
note of that, we appreciate it,
Okay.
and we will, with your help, draft a special provision with the 25th Senator, Attorney Doblon.
Okay. Salamat, Madam Chairman. So, ang gusto ko lang po sana pakiusap sa DOLE, pangalagaan po natin itong malaking perang bilyones na in-entrust sa inyo ng Congress na para magkaroon po ng trabaho through tupad ang mga naghihikaos nating kababayan. Use it properly. Huwag ko sana mapunta to sa mga politiko o magagamit ng mga politiko para magpasikat, para kumuha ng boto o para mapaboran ang kanilang mga taong gustong paboran sapagkat tumulong sa eleksyon, sapagkat kamag-anak nila, etc. Huwag po sana ganun ang maging sistema natin. Okay? Yun ang pong pinupunto ko. Pero yung pagkakaroon po ng tupad sa budget ng DOLE, I agree. I agree. Kailangan po ng mga trabaho, especially nowadays, nakatatapos lang po ng pandemya, marami po na walang trabaho, so itong tupad, makakatulong po ito not only na para magkaroon ng pera ating mga labor sector, yung mga walang trabaho, makakatulong din po sa ekonomiya. Dahil siyempre yung pera na galing sa tupad, na sinesweldo sa mga temporary na magkaroon ng trabaho, siyempre gagasusin po nila yan, so magkakaroon po ng movement sa ating economy, so to speak. Okay? So okay na po tayo dyan sa tupad. Right? Okay na, approve.
Maganda.
Meron pa akong sunod. Okay, ito madali na to, Madam Chair. Napapansin ko po, Secretary Leguesman, dito kayo. Kapag meron pong complainant against employer at nagkakaroon po ng mediation sa DOLE, ang complainant po, yung manggagawa, walang representation. Pero ang complainant, ni-represent ng kanyang abogado, sometimes battery of lawyers. So ang gusto ko pa mangyari from now on, kailangan pagdating sa arbitration o sa mediation, walang abogado na makisali sa mediation kundi maging yung manggagawa lang versus empleyado ng employer. HR kung pwede. Kasi in some cases, hinaharap po sa mediation, abogado po ng employer. So kung ang isang manggagawa, pobre, kulang sa pinag-aralan, duruin na po, titiris-tirisin na po ng abogado at tatakutin hanggang sa yung pong pobreng manggagawa, makikipagseto na lang kahit na magkanong amount na i-offer because there's the abogado who has so much experience na para magtawad o para i-outsmart ang mga complainant ng kanilang kliyente. So pwede po ba from now on sa mediation, ipagbawal na po yung mga abogado?
Sa mediation po, conciliation po, kinonsulta ko po ang DOLE, sang-ayon po sila at kaya pong gawin ang inyong minumungkahi.
Okay. Good. Thank you po. Pangatlo, many times in the past, pag kami po'y sumasama sa mga manggagawa nagreklamo sa amin na inapi po ng kanilang mga employer, pinapalayas po kami, yung aming mga reporter, pinapalayas po ng sa pagdating po sa mediation. At bakit pinapalayas? Your good is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. Dahil si mediator at saka si representative sa employer, pumupunta po sa loob ng kwarto. Paglabas, nakangisi na po yung taga-DOLE na nang-mediate. At si pobre manggagawa, malungkot. Uwi, luhaan dahil hindi niya nakuha yung kanyang gusto. So dapat po i-open po. Kung pwede, i-open po yan, yung mediation na yan, doon po sa mga gustong sumama
Mr. President.
ng mga kasamahan po nito mga manggagawa. Kasi in some
President.
cases po, hindi ina-allowed po ng representation ito manggagawa. Only the employer na kadalasan ay mga abogado pa.
You may want, Mr. President, to file a bill to amend the labor code because it is in the labor code that during mediation that is deemed confidential and we have to follow the law. Where PowerPoint presentation, we spoke about many programs, and I think we have comprehensively addressed the issues. And we would like to ensure that the issues of unemployment and underemployment and the plight of our overseas Filipinos and those who have lost their jobs during the pandemic and all the underemployed, unemployed will be helped with this budget. We would be happy if we will receive amendments for an increase in the budget of these agencies. Otherwise, I would be happy to answer any and all questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from the province of Isabela, Senator Rafi Tulfo, to ask questions, Mr. President. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very easy lang po ito mga katanungan ko. Just like what Senator Loren LEGARDA said, ito po ay more on policy making. Wag ho kayong mag-alala. I'll make it short and sweet. But before my questions, my queries, I need to issue a manifestation of support for the budget of DOLE. Good afternoon, Mr. President, and to the distinguished sponsor of this committee report, Senator Loren LEGARDA, and to my dear colleagues who are present today in the plenary. I humbly stand before you to reiterate my support to the budget of the Department of Labor and Employment and its attached agencies. The Filipino worker has always been my top priority. Alam naman po natin na sa loob ng maraming taon, sila po ang kadalasang tinutulungan po natin, lalo na mga manggagawang hindi nabibigyan ng tamang pasweldo at benepisyo sa trabaho. Sa panahon ng pandemya, nalaman natin ng mga manggagawang Pilipino ang lubos na nahirapan. At ngayon, unti-unti na silang umaahon. Tila pilit pa rin hinahadlangan ng biglaang pagtaas ng mga presyo ng bilihin dahil sa inflation. Nagiging matumal na naman ang negosyo kaya nagatubili mga negosyante na mag-hire na mas maraming empleyado malapit ng Pasko. Ang dasal ko lang po sana ay lahat ng manggagawang Pilipino ay makapagdiwang na hindi gutom at salat. Thus, it is incumbent upon me to ensure that the government's arm tasked to promote gainful employment, govern and protect the rights of every Filipino worker, has sufficient budget to effectively execute its mandate. The Department of Labor and Employment cannot function and deliver its deliveries or deliverables to the Filipino people unless it is adequately equipped with resources. Their role is very crucial during these trying times. Kaya naman po, buong suporta ko sa kanilang budget para matugunan ang mga problema sa ating labor sector. With the budget given to DOLE, the areas of improvement which we aim to realize in the labor sector can be attained, which includes, among others, speeding up the process of resolving disputes before NLRC to ensure that judgment awards for employees can be executed fully and timely, increasing the number of arbiters to accommodate more cases. And number 3, full digitalization in the filing of cases. That said, I have a few questions, Mr. President, and I hope our sponsor and the department would gladly enlighten us on this. Umpisahan ko po sa Tupad. Ang inaprubahan po ng DBM sa Tupad is 4,884,879 or 14 billion.8. Whoa! Tinaasan po agad ng House. Ginawa pong 20 billion.6. Sinangayunan po ng Senate, 20 billion.6. Ang akin na po pinagtataka, bakit po pag ibang mga departamento, ibang ahensya ng ating pamalaan, left and right po ang pagkakat, pag-slash ng budget at sinasangayunan po ng upper and lower house, lower and upper house. Bakit po pagdating sa Tupad, mukhang sa halip na slash o questionin, tinaasan pa talaga? Ano po
Magandang katanungan po, Ginoong Tulfo, Senator Tulfo.
Yes, sir.
Tatanungin ko rin po yan pag ako ay first-term senator. At ako po ay naging congresswoman, kaya nakita ko po ang kahalagahan ng ayuda, grassroots support, ng cash for work. Ang ibig pong sabihin, ito pong Tupad, lalo na po nung panahon ng pandemya, ay nakakatulong sa mga tao.
Okay.
Unang-una po, ito ay cash for work. Marami pong mga out-of-school youths, meron pong mga unemployed, underemployed, meron pong mga gusto ng extra na pagkakakitaan. Pwede pong 10, 20, 30 days po. At sa tingin ko po ay mahirap po ang corruption dito. Dahil diretso po ito sa ating mga benepisyaryo for the Tupad. Tupad, by the way, is an acronym for a longer word, disadvantaged, tulong, pangkabuhayan, para sa disadvantaged, displaced workers. Okay, Tupad. When I was a new senator also, maybe in my second term, I would wonder why congressmen would always amend the budget. But I realize it is effective. And I can say, when I represented the Lone District of Antique in 2019, people were calling, Tupad, Tupad, Luwilier, Luwilier. I said, my name, the candidate is Legarda, not Luwilier. Yung pala, dun pala dinedeposito sa Luwilier ang mga pasweldo sa Tupad. In short, ang laking tulong sa mga magsasaka na siguro ang kinikita lang ng mga kada buwan ay 2,000-3,000, tapos sila po ay kikita sa minimum wage sa 10 hanggang 20 araw, ang laking bagay po. Maaring sa atin ay, ano ba naman yun, 10-20 days, it could be life-changing. Especially for rural areas where there are very little job opportunities. But let me say this, aside from Tupad, there is a GIP, the Government Internship Program. So, if you don't like to make it tupad, they have a GIP where even the youth of our country, less than 30 years old, right? Warren? Yeah. Can have jobs and can train in government offices. But there's another program which is one of my favorites because as the author of the MSME law, we have the DOLE Kabuhayan. It's a longer process, and this I would ask them to expedite the process of application so that in times of pandemic recovery, we can provide, makakabigay po tayo ng kapital o equipment o tools o gamit sa mga gustong magnegosyo na mga nawalan ng trabaho. Kaya GIP, kabuhayan, or tupad, ang laking bagay po. Kaya sang-ayon po ako sa pagtaas ng budget
Ng tupad.
ng House of Representatives at ng Senado. At kung kaya pa, sa
Tasan pa.
absorptive capacity nila, ba't hindi pa amendahan? Magandang tulong po sa pamilya ng inyong mga pinaglilingkurang mahal na mahal nating overseas Filipinos, malaking bagay po ang tupad. Basta walang corruption.
Walang
and
corruption.
we make sure there is no corruption. You know, I work with these people and even those in my district and I tell them, please talagang diretso sa mahihirap ang inyong mga binabayan.
Alright. Maraming salamat po, Madam Senator. So, kung wala pong korupsyon at malinis po yung pagdidistribute ng tupad, meron po akong suggestion. Bakit hindi na lang po natin ipadiretso sa DOLE, magbibigay po diretso sa tao? Ba't kinakailangan pa po idadaan sa mga politiko?
Hindi po to dinadaan sa politiko, Mr. President. Ang tupad po, okay, paano ginagawa ang budget? Tatayo ako ha, masakit ang likod ko. Una po, yan po yung NEP. Tapos po, sa House, tapos nga sa Senado, based on our amendments. Sorry, I have to stand because of my backache. Hindi po to binibigay sa politiko. Sa senador, hindi po tayo humahawak ng pera. Congressman, hindi rin sila humahawak ng pera. Gobernador, hindi po. Hindi rin po ang mayor. Siyempre, hindi rin po ang kapitan. Hindi vice mayor, hindi po konsehal, hindi board member. Ito pong central ay dina-download po sa region.
Okay.
Ang region po ay merong mga provincial DOLE officers
Opo.
na siyang makikipag-ugnayan po sa mga lokal na pamahalaan hanggang sa kapitan, hanggang mag-ugnayan sa mga CSO, POs, sectoral representatives para po ilista yung mga posibleng beneficiaryo na vinivet po nila na hindi po ghost.
I'll give you an example po, Madam Senator. Sa
hindi
distrito...
teka po,
Oh, sorry.
tama ba ako? Hindi dapat i-download sa probinsya o sa LGU. Di ba? Hindi dapat. Sa pagkaalam ko, ako hindi ko ginagawa yon. Diretso sa tao. O sige, yun ang pagkaalam ko.
Okay.
I speak from experience, Mr. President. If there is another way of implementing tupad, I've never done that. Right? Because what I do is I allocate it through our GAA amendments,
Opo.
and I can see that... Why are you laughing? No, because I have a backache. Yes. Because I can see it's really life-changing. Yes. I am not certain that it can be downloaded to an LGU. Pwede ba yun? Okay. Because like DOLE Kabuhayan, if you are accredited entity and local governments are accredited, aside from cooperatives and associations, then they can be partners of government in its implementation. However, hindi naman pwede yung LGU ang naglilista, tapos hindi manunood, hindi magatrabaho si province na DOLE. Nakanood. Nakanood din si congressman. Nanunood din ang senador. Nanunood lahat. Of course, we're not a perfect world. How can we, with the trillions of budget here, watch every centavo? But I am saying this, and I'm standing also for emphasis, that dapat diretso sa mahirap
Tama. I agree.
at tupad. Yan ang dalawang paborito, lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya.
Yes, ma'am.
Nangingilabot ako habang sinasabi ko sa inyo.
Wag naman po.
Iyak. Dahil po, that has been the life-changing government programs that helped Antique and many districts and provinces during times of pandemic. Believe you me, while we were working on Zoom and legislating on Zoom, those who were not immediately helped because of the lockdowns were helped because of Tupad.
Madam Chairwoman, did you hear my question? The secretary gave a thumbs up sign, pero I don't know if the TSN will be able to reflect that.
Yes, yes.
Kasi kung
Yes.
kung si Tupad ay tulong sa mahihirap, naging ano siya, naging DSWD program siya. So something to do with labor, employment, somebody losing or recently having
Yes.
lost his or her employment. Okay
Yes.
po 'yon. So napakagandang programa nga at parang people are clamoring for it. Siguraduhin lang po natin na what happened ito nabasa ko, it's before your term, Secretary, something happened in Pampanga. Let's just make sure na hindi maulit yun. Andito yung detail sa akin, pero alam niyo na siguro ito. And given that you know this, how do we now tighten the rules, Secretary, para hindi po ito maulit?
Actually, Mr. President, to be fair, this instance that was mentioned is an isolated case. That's the only one I've heard. I haven't heard of others. If there are problems in the implementation, we will accept your special provisions to make sure that the Tupad goes to the needy, the unemployed, those affected by calamities, those are in need of jobs, because that is the intention of Tupad. It's a temporary cash for work while you're looking for a job. But of course, there are millions, 2.6 million of unemployed Filipinos. But we will accept the special provisions that will ensure that the funds that we allocate for Tupad goes to those in need.
Sige po. I think klaro naman yung idea na yung concept behind Tupad. It's just in the implementation. Anyway, we all learn from experience. DOLE has learned from that experience kasi mga 2,600 recipients had similar IDs or ID numbers. So wag na lang natin. In one incident in Magalang, one person collected the pay of 35 Tupad claimants. Mga ganun ba? Wag na natin sana po hindi na maulit kasi nga maganda po yung programa. Okay, sige.
On child labor.
Eradication of child labor.
Kailan yung batas ko? I'm the author of the anti-child labor law, I think at my first term. May batas na po tayo eh. And let me just read this report. According to special release on working children and child labor situation by the PSA, but this was still a year ago, December 2021. Results of the child labor survey in 2020 estimated that there's 597,000, more than almost 600,000 children, 5 to 17 years of age, engaged in child labor. Mostly in Region 10, Northern Mindanao, Region 5, Bicol, BARM, Region 7, and 4A. What can we do about that? We already have a law.
Families of child labor, ma'am, we provide evidence.
So, instead of course, wala naman pong magulang gusto paghirapan o pagtrabaho, mga anak. Kailang ito'y dulot na rin ng kahirapan, and especially worsened, number one, by disasters, calamities, and second, by the pandemic. And so this has pushed us to worsening poverty, and that's what I told them in the hearing. How do we cure intergenerational poverty? And child labor is a large part of that. So how do we do it? Through livelihood programs, by providing them not just avenues for employment, but making them self-employed individuals and groups. So we have livelihood assistance, we have emergency employment, we have job placement, employment facilitation, we have skills training through TESDA, financial assistance, diretsong ayuda, housing assistance, medical assistance, and of course, a convergence program with other agencies of government like the SWD, the 4-piece program, where we have, of course, the 4P annual monthly allowance, conditional cash transfer, and the sustainable livelihood program for the 4P families. Marami po. But being a population of 110 and having a poverty level of almost 20 million, 19.99, and 2.6 million unemployed, hindi po madali. Kaya ang aking sinasabi nga sa kanila, importanteng bigyan natin hindi lamang ng one-time na ayuda, kung hindi nga puhunan para we create small industries, micro-enterprises, nano-enterprises, even self-employment para po pagbigyan mo ng bigasan para patuloy ang kanya, hindi lang isang ayuda or 10 days na tupad tapos mauubos naman niya kaagad yon. So really, I admit it's a challenge, and being the author of this law in my first term, gusto ko talagang tumutok dito at I will, together with you, work with the Secretary on how we could, during our watch, lessen, and I will monitor this perhaps quarterly on how we help eliminate child labor. The more, I'm sure this PSA 600,000, marami pa dyan. Mr. President, this is a new law, as you know, since 2018. Yes, and the compliance rate after correction increased by 10%
5-year-old law.
from 2019 to 2022. And there's a table here of establishments covered every year. Let's say in 2022, there's 69,369 establishments that were covered by the labor inspection program, and 3,973,195 workers were covered by this in 2022. So it's a long list
Yes.
of people of inspection that was conducted. There's been an improvement, but
Yes.
again, in an imperfect world,
Yes.
and in the implementation of laws, there's always much to do for improvement.
And of course, I agree, the world is imperfect. There will always be accidents. Pero, if merong avoidable there are avoidable incidents. And so, yung mga ganun, if you let them
Definitely.
paint sa ledge on the 6th floor without harness, you're inviting an accident. Hindi na po accident yun. Violation of the law na yun. So anyway, sige
No,
po.
you're
So
correct.
thank
In
you.
fact,
Yes, ma'am.
there was one morning when I went on a skyway, and I was wondering why there was a man who was on the cement side of the skyway looking down with nothing. I don't know if he was
Working.
working,
Working.
silip, but there was a
Ayan.
van. He
Yun.
was there, and I was so scared for him. Then he jumped back to the skyway. I don't know what they were trying to monitor.
Yun na.
With nothing on his body.
Sige po. So that unit led by an undersecretary, yan po. So we wish you the best. Andito naman kami to support you.
Yeah.
It's a relatively new law, but not really that new. May 5 years na. Dapat meron na po kayong system ngayon. And that's Pasay City, not Cebu City. You know what happened in Cebu, no? Something happened in Cebu. Yun sa machine. Baka hindi alam ni Chairwoman yun, but something happened in Cebu.
Yeah.
Tama. Anyway. Yung, ano ba yun? Yung sa meat packing company?
Aray, ano yun?
Okay.
See you little
Hindi
bro.
alam ng Yusek, alam mo? You know what I'm referring to?
Ayoko na. Huwag na lang.
You know, Yusek? You don't know yung kinain nung parang machine yung isang worker?
Aray.
Oh, di sa Cebu? Di nyo alam?
Kinain ng makina yung worker. Ano ba yan?
I'm beginning to worry, Madam Chairwoman. Part yun ng occupational safety, right?
Oo. Of course.
Hindi alam ni Yusek.
Ano sasabihin?
Hindi alam ni Yusek, bakit ko alam ko? I think you penalize the I think you impose the penalty on the company. Ako sa news ko lang po ito nakukuha. I think you impose the fine.
Hanapin ko lang.
Well, Atty. Basta alam nyo na. Basta alam niyo yung concern namin. I mean, at any rate, Madam Chairwoman, I will terminate now my interpellation, but I'm going to begin the interpellation of my companion in the minority. Meron po akong may iniwan po si Senator Risa Ontiveros na mga katanungan. Okay. Sige po, TESDA. For TESDA. Mr. President, my question is about the assessment and certification of the middle, medyo 6 paragraphs po ito. Pati, medyo hindi ko na po isisigaw kasi masakit na rin yung lalamunan ko. Okay. Mr. President,
No,
my
wala
question
naman
is,
po yung nagtatanong. No, you can submit it and then the questions can be answered and given to you by tomorrow when we
Hindi.
open session. Kung nahirapan kayo.
meron kasing informative function din ito eh. Believe it or not, may nagsusubaybay sa atin eh. Meron nga nag-email sa akin, tinanong ko sa DPW. So ituloy na lang po natin ito, just with your indulgence po. Okay. Mr. President, my question is about the assessment and certification of the middle-level skilled workers through Philippine Technical Vocational and Training Competency Assessment and Certification System, PTC-ACS program of the TESDA. Based on this program, you need to hire competent assessors who will conduct competency assessment process for persons applying for certifications. Mahalaga po ba ang role na ginagampanan ng mga trainers and assessors? Kung bago kasama sila sa core program and mandate ng TESDA, kasi kung walang mga trainers and assessors, walang mabigyan ng certificates. Tama ba? Tuloy ko na lang po, lahat-lahat na tuloy ko na. May I know from the TESDA how many accredited assessment centers does the agency have and how much budget we allocate for each of the accredited center?
Assessment center.
From this allocation, how many trainers and assessors can the agency hire? And how much does the agency pay for each assessor? The reason why I ask this, Madam Sponsor, is because my office received a complaint from a group of assessors. They claim that they received a very minimal amount of payment, 300 pesos per person, with no security of tenure and social benefits like SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Aside from issue, some of them are exposed, aside from this issue, some of them are exposed to hazardous work, especially during the training. Pwede po bang malaman bakit ganito ang sitwasyon nila? Pwede ba silang mabigyan ng pagkakataon na madinig ng TESDA ang kanilang mga issues at makapaghain ng proposal sa kanila? Yeah, that's the end of the question.
Yes, of course, the complainants or those who were requesting the Senator Ontiveros' office
Yeah.
may reach TESDA either through our office or directly, that's okay. Now, to the question of the trainers, there are 21,737 TVET trainers, National TVET Training Certificate holders, and 7,516 accredited competency assessors. That's the latest as of October of this year, Mr. President.
Sige po, just take, TESDA, just take note of the amount that was mentioned in the question and tingnan nyo if per regulations, ano ba? There's no violation?
So the assessor's fee is 3,192 per one batch of assessment schedule.